morning, everyone. My name is Craig Recchia. I'm our installation trainer here at Peerless AV, and today we're going to talk about the installation of a HPF650. This is your hospitality mount that is perfect for pulling out, pivoting, and very simple to install. This is going to be kind of a little instructional video so everyone can kind of get a little feel for how it works and hopefully alleviate any kind of nervousness or apprehension about using the product. So what I'm going to tell you about is the pieces that are going to come in your box here. So you are going to have your adapter plate. So your adapter plate comes in three pieces. You have your little hooks that go on the back of the display and your centerpiece, which we'll get to first this morning. Next you have your mounting piece. So your mounting piece actually pulls out from the wall like this. And these little arms here kind of bend and move so you can get your drill in there or your screwdriver, whatever it may be. In addition to that, there's little grooves. There's a little piece here. Give me 1 second. There's a little piece here that actually goes on and locks it into place, so now it won't move. And this is pretty neat little feature for during the installation process. Now, any one person can grab onto it, do whatever they need to do up on the wall, and by utilizing this little piece, it won't move while you're doing your installation. So, in addition to that, you also have your hardware pack, so you don't have to worry about determining which bolts to use. You can, I would imagine you'll be using a lot of the same displays, so once you determine which bolts are going to be good for your display, then you can just use those. It also comes with these little spacers and nuts, and I'll talk about both of those in a little while here. You also have your wood screws and your concrete anchors for mounting, and then you have more of the little locking mechanisms that I'll talk about a little bit later. And finally, you have pieces for assembling the adapter plate, and then also toggles for attaching to metal or steel studs. Okay, so we're going to talk first about attaching the adapter plates to the television, and then we'll talk about the mount. Okay, before we get started here, we're going to talk about the tools that you need. So you'll need a stud finder to find your wood studs or steel studs. The purpose of this video is to show how the mount goes up and how the TV attaches it and how the brackets go onto the display. So with regards to where to place the display, that's going to be up to the installer out there. Just please note that if you're hanging a mount, it must attach to the steel studs via the toggles, or wood studs via the wood bolts. Obviously, you never want to use drywall anchors. You never want to attach to just drywall. So it kind of makes sense there. So anyway, you're going to need, beyond that, you need a tape measure for locating where you want to put the mount. You will need your handy dandy drill. And with your drill, you're going to use a 5/32 drill bit to drill your pilot hole, and 3/8 inch bolt driver for bolting in your bolt, or you could use a screwdriver or a Phillips head bit for your screwdriver. In addition, you want to have a level so that you can make sure that your mount is nice and level, therefore your display will be nice and level as well. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your package that has, that is over here. You take your package that has your components for attaching your adapter plate. So once we have, and that is going to entail these two pieces right here. They're just little pieces of metal with holes in them, and some little bitty screws for attaching the arm. So the easiest way to do this, is to take your three pieces, and very simple, the sticker is going to be on the inside. Your brackets here are going to go on the display, but before they do that, they're going to slide into both sides of your centerpiece here. So if we look, it's very simple. You'll notice that there's a little bit of a beveled edge here. So that side's going to be facing towards the display. Notice that they're each facing in the same direction. These are kind of versatile, so I mean, if you wanted to, you know, if there was ever an instance where you needed to have like a little bit of a raise, maybe there's a bump out in the display, that's possible. But typically, you're going to form an eye like this. So once you've done that, you're simply going to take this little piece and you're going to put it in the back of this. And obviously, it's a little bit easier to do when you're sitting down. But once you line up the holes with your back piece, you're going to take the little screws that come with it, and you're just going to feed them in. Give it a second here. You're just going to feed them in and screw them into place. Kind of dropped one there, but that's okay. Very, very simple. And we're going to do that again. So you have your three pieces for your adapter brackets. And these little metal pieces go on the back here, so you can see, right on the back there. This little piece right here, you know, see it's kind of beveled so that where it faces down or flush with the back of the display is going to slide right in the top. Okay, leaving you room to put your little screw in here and make an engagement. And once you've done that, you're going to put another little screw here on the bottom. The screw goes on the bottom here. Okay. So then at that point, all I got to do is match up the holes with that little piece and just hand tighten this little screw. So at this point, and the reason why you leave it loose is so now when you put it up onto the TV, you can make whatever adjustments you want. So then what you're going to do is you're going to attach the other side and before you put it on the back of the display. Okay, so now at this point I have attached the other adapter to the other side of the center frame here. So what I'm going to do now, notice I kept them loose, okay? And that's very important. So I took my hardware pack and I found the correct bolts I needed. Now what I wanted to point out at this point is there's these little plastic spacers that come with your hardware pack. And the reason why I'm using it is because my bolt hole here, when I screw in my bolt, it goes and it runs out of room to screw in, so it stops. So I need to have some sort of way to bridge that gap. And by using these little spacers along with a washer, that's going to now basically make the screw shorter so that it'll accommodate the mount. So now at this point, I am going to put my bracket on, and you can look and you can see that it doesn't matter which direction you put it on because it's going to fit just fine. Or it's, you know, there's no bottom and no top. Just interesting to know because some mounts, you know, you have to know which is the bottom and which is the top. Now you can put the adapter bracket. The nice thing about the adapter bracket is It could go on like this if you choose, or it could go on like this if you choose, like an I or an H. Now, that's just designed that way so in case, you put it on, and in this case not blocking anything, but there's, if you had like a power input or something that was being blocked by the arm, then you can just, like if it was right here, you can then attach it this way, no block. So it really doesn't matter. So at this point, we're going to put the bracket on the TV. We are going to make sure that it is centered on the back. And we're going to put our bolt in. And this is the reason why we left these little arms kind of loose, so that we can put one of our screws in here. And then on the other side, we could position it so that it is correct, which will be, looks like 400 by 400, not too sure. But it really doesn't matter because you left those, you left these on here. So now if we look, what is happening is we have a little bit of a problem with it going over the bezel. So that's simple enough. We're just going to raise it up. We're going to get our additional screws, and we are going to finish putting these in. Okay, so what I did here is I took my tape measure and I measured the display 24.5 inches. So I just want to make sure that my bracket here is in the center of the display at 12.5 inches. So like the center of here at 12.5 inches, then I know that it's central on the back of the display. Now sometimes there's a lot of give and play with positioning on the wall. Sometimes it just needs to be in a general vicinity, but other times you need to be pretty exact. So that's a good way to make sure that at least on the TV end, the bracket is centered on it. So then I'm going to go ahead and tighten the rest of my bolts here. So tighten those up. We're using our little security wrench because this is going to be in a public place. So all the hardware is going to have security hardware on it, so it's like a proprietary wrench. In addition to that, we're now going to tighten up those where the adapter brackets, where we slid those into the center frame here, but remember we left it loose. So we're going to tighten those up as well. So we're going to tighten all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts here. Okay. Now notice that I am not over tightening. I am just tightening until it's snug, and that's it. And I always like to double check to make sure that I tightened all the bolts. So now you have your adapter bracket on the display. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to look right here at these 4 bolts, and this is going to how we are going to then get the bracket part attached to the mounting part. So in doing that, we're going to need a couple more screws that we have over here in our bag. And that are these guys. So these guys attach in the top holes here. And all you do is screw in about, it's going to stop itself at a certain point. So you are just going to screw them in about 3 or 4 threads so that it's able to hang onto the, if you notice on your mount here, you have your little hook and hang slot. So basically, it's going to, once it's up on the wall, you simply are going to just hook this on, the display onto it, and then that way a single person can accomplish it. So pretty nifty there. So now we are going to hang the wall portion. Okay, so now at this point we're ready to hang our wall plate. Now the wall plate is very nifty. It's got little slots on either side, so very simple, very lightweight, very easy for one person to determine. So now at this point you've determined where your studs are, or if you're going to the concrete, where you want to place the mount. That is really personal preference, and like I said, my job is just kind of show you how it goes up properly, and then we can take it from there. Now this one, your little eye drop holes here, or keyhole slots, those indicate that they need to be on top. So that's the difference here. So once you determine where you want it to go, you're going to take your level, as you can see, and you're going to put your mount up where you wanted it to go. We're going to put it, let's say, right around here. And we are going to level it off as we can. And then we're going to take our little pen or pencil, and we're going to make our, whoopsie. So we want to level it off again. Then we are going to mark our holes. So our 4 holes. Now, at the same time too, hopefully I wasn't in the way, the other nifty thing, as I indicated before, is you can actually attach this to a single stud as well. And you can do that by putting this little installation tool on. So this is going to keep it from moving. So now you can grab it where you want. And it's opened itself up now to where you can now, if you wanted to, if you were attaching to a single stud, or you needed to attach to a single stud, you can bring this out and you can actually hold on to it just like this. See, I'm not a very big guy, but I'm holding it up no problem. I got it all level, and then I can just mark my holes here and here without anything being in the way, so I can now attach this to a single stud if I wanted to as well. So next, we are going to go ahead and get our drill. Okay, I've hung my mount, I leveled it off, I marked my holes for where I want to bolt it to the wall. Obviously, I use my stud finder to find the stud, so I know I'm good there. Another great, so that's, now I'm going to drill my pilot hole with the 5/32 drill bit. So I'll go ahead and drill in my hole. Now the pilot hole is important because you're being more precise. You're making sure that you're hitting the stud. Obviously, if you're going into steel studs, you do need to drill I believe it's a 1/2-inch hole to fit that toggle through. But in this regard, we know that we're hitting the stud because of our pilot hole. Plus, it's going to make the bolt go in. You're not going to have any problems. So, I know that for a purpose of this is actually just a plywood backed wall. So, really, I could just drive the nuts in right into the plywood. But as far as a proper demonstration, you definitely want to drill those pilot holes in first. And number 4. All right. Okay, now it's time to install the mount or hang the mount on the wall. And to do that, first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our little installer tool. Put this on here so we can keep a nice open area for us to drill this and put it up. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and hang one on the side. I'm going to make sure that these keyhole slots are facing upwards so that I know I'm doing it right. So all I got to do, and this is another good reason to have your pilot holes as well, because so if one person wanted to do this, they could. Get our drill over here, no problem. So all I want to do is just get this bolt up on here. Get this up in here so that I can have an easier time of working. Okay, so I got that one up, and then I'm going to go ahead, hold it up. I'm going to get my level here, and I am going to put my level up. And I am just going to make sure that it is level as it can be. And got my pilot hole here. And I'm going to go ahead and really pay attention. Keep it as level as I can as I drill this one in. Try and be as careful as I can and where I'm at. So this way, I left everything kind of loose right now, so I can go ahead and make sure that everything is where I need to be and it's nice and level. So I'll go ahead and drill this one in the rest of the way. And right at the end here, before I make my final solid contact, I'm going to check that I'm level one more time, which I am, and that's that. So I'll go back here, go ahead and tighten this one in. Notice we got plenty of room to work with. That's what it's nice to have, that little installation tool to have that. That one's in as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other two bolts in. I have everything nice and level. It's really not going anywhere at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and put my last two bolts in. One here, pilot hole, no problem, start nice and easy. Give myself plenty of room here for my drill, so no problem. Notice that I'm not over tightening, I'm just putting them in till it makes contact, and that's it. And then my final one here, whoops, and I am all set to go then at that point. So, really, what you want to do is, you get your drill like this, get your drill like this, like this, like this. You have plenty of room. You're not going to scratch or damage anything. But everything is ready to go, good to go. Okay, so at this point now, we're just simply going to hang the display. The display, like I mentioned before, has those two screws that you see in the center there. And those two screws are simply going to hook and hang onto these little key slot holes, and then it's just going to rest in there. So one person can do this. It's going to be easier for safety purposes to have two people so that you can see that you're lining it up. And this is a pretty heavy display, so I'm going to have someone help me do that. But typically, if it was a 32, 40-inch display, pretty light, one person could certainly do it. So I'm going to go ahead and have my friend hang this on here for me, and I'll show you how it bolts together. Okay, so as you can see, I hooked on the top here, very simple. And then on your bottom holes here, we're simply going to attach the two remaining screws, and notice that you have plenty of room with your pivot arm here to swing it one way or another. So I'm going to go ahead, so all I'm going to do now is get back behind here, screw these in, make everything nice and tight. Okay, so as you can see, we've tightened the bolts. Everything is level. I double checked with my level. Now, the other great thing about the installation here is if, say, it isn't level or you need to make an adjustment, it's pretty simple. All you need to do is you can loosen these outer ones. You can loosen them a little bit so that you can then get your level up there, level it off, and then tighten them back up, and that's an easy way to get things level. But like I said, if you got the mount and the bracket up level, everything will be level when it's done. So one more thing, another great feature about this mount, so let's say you're putting it into a hotel room or what have you, and you decided that you wanted to have the display at a certain angle. As you can see here, it's got a nice pivot to it, but you wanted to keep it in that spot. There is this little piece here, goes right over the little hole there, and then there's a self-tapping screw that goes into here and it self-taps itself so that you can then lock this into place, and this is that security screw so it's not going anywhere. So if you knew, and then if it's in a public place, you don't want it tampered with, so that'll lock it into place, won't allow anyone to move it. Now they can still pivot the TV, that's fine, but if you wanted it set a specific way for safety or for equipment that needs to go in there, that is the purpose of that. So now at this point, your guest or whoever can still pivot the TV any way they want. And so that is your HPF650. Great mount that can pull out now from the wall, pivot one way or another. So think about a hotel room. You maybe have your seating area over here, but at night you want to pivot for laying in bed. It's a great little mount. It can be retracted, offset. There's lots of good room for storage and cable management. Really simple, easy mount to put up. So hopefully you enjoyed the training here, and hopefully, most importantly, it will be useful in your future jobs and make it speed up the process and get your mounts up timely, efficiently, and most importantly, in a safe manner. Hope everyone has a great day, and I thank you very much.